What's up guys, Kool-Aid here, and today we have Infiltration 101. Now similar to Sniping 101, I am going to break this into four categories, which are weapons and loadout, movement and cloaking, again, which we had in Sniping 101. Equipment, I separated this from weapons and loadout because there's a lot of equipment to go over, and the last one is going to be hacking. Now, I'm going to try and cover everything in this one video, but again, like Sniping 101, if I do not, I will make a follow-up video if you guys have a lot of comments or questions that I do not address. I will do a part 2 or a 101.2 video. So anyways, we'll start with weapons and loadout, and I do prefer the fully auto scout. Now, I don't think the semi-auto snipers are bad either. I would stay away from the semi-auto scouts just because I think the semi-auto snipers are a lot better. Not a lot better, but slightly better. I mean, they're going to do a significant amount more damage while only having a little bit less fire rate. So I would suggest the semi-auto snipers over the semi-auto scouts if you want to go the semi-auto role or route. As far as bolt actions for infiltration purposes go, I don't use them, even though in previous games like Battlefield, I do like close quarters bolt action sniping. In this game, I don't feel as comfortable. I don't know if it's the hit detection, lag, or frame rates that I'm getting, but I don't feel as comfortable doing it. If you can do it, more power to you. It's not a bad option. I just don't feel comfortable doing it. I get the best results with the fully auto scout, and that's pretty much what I stick to. I will switch it up from time to time to try and play around with stuff, but I do prefer the fully auto scout. Now, as far as sidearm go, I do use the Rebel. I recommended that to all NC players. I have not used all the TR VS pistols, but I am a fan of high damage pistols over high capacity pistols. Reason being is just because I like to drop people in as few amount of shots as possible. Also, as an infiltrator, you're going to have a lot of opportunities where you sneak up behind people and shoot them in the back of the head without them even knowing you're there. The less bullets it takes for you to drop them in this circumstance, the better. So I would recommend the high damage pistols. Now, as far as attachments go for these, optics, I've never done a video on optics because I think most of that is all personal preference, honestly. As you're going to see a lot of these videos, I am using optics and a lot I'm not. I actually prefer iron sights on my fully auto stalker as opposed to any other one. I ran with the reflex on for a while, and I went back to iron sights. I don't know what it is. I've done this in a lot of games where I actually will prefer iron sights over any sort of optics you can put on it. As far as the grip goes, I have not bought one yet, and I use this a lot. The reason being is because it is quite expensive, and this gun has so little recoil to begin with, as far as I can tell, that I've found more important stuff to spend my asserts on. So I have avoided that for now. I probably will pick it up eventually. I use this gun a lot. There's no reason not to have it. There's no negative effect. So, if you feel like you need it, if you feel like it does have more recoil for you, go ahead and pick that up. Now, as far as suppressors go, in my sniping video, I said stay the hell away from suppressors. When it comes to infiltration, I would recommend a suppressor on both your primary and your secondary weapon. Reason being is because suppressors are going to allow you to not show up on the minimap and allow your guns to be quieter. Two big things that are important for infiltration. The negative effects of suppressor are basically going to be lower damage at long distances and slower bullet velocity. Those are the two big things. Well, neither of them are going to affect you in infiltration ranges. You shouldn't be killing people at too far of different distances in these circumstances. So I would definitely suggest going with the suppressor. It's going to have way more benefits in this role than it will have negatives. Now, as far as your suit and suitability go, for infiltration, I would use nanoweave armor. For sniping, I always use the ammunition belt. But for infiltration, you should be able to resupply yourself at a lot of times. Whereas sniping, you're not going to be able to do that. As far as your suitability, I would definitely go hunter cloaking. That's what I use all the time, and I'll show you guys exactly what maxed out hunter cloaking recharge rate looks like, because I do have it maxed out now. It's very nice, but for infiltration, you are going to want to have the ability to stay cloaked as much as possible. It's very important, and it's probably one of the key things you need to invest in for this. As far as the rest of the loadout, I'll touch more on that when I get to the equipment section. So anyways, we will move on to movement and cloaking. And this is probably the most important aspect as far as infiltration goes. It's also one of the hardest to get used to because we all want to think that we can just run out and nobody's going to see us. But we all know that that's not the case, and cloaking is definitely far from perfect in this game. So one thing I like to do is kind of pretend that I'm not even cloaked whatsoever, especially if you see people. Don't even think of yourself as being cloaked. Think of yourself as, just being anybody else, and that you actually have to come from different angles if you want to sneak by them or sneak past them. The cloaking is definitely going to help, and there are other ways to maximize your cloak. One of these ways is by crouching. Now, supposedly in the last patch, they made this a little bit better. I can't confirm or deny that. But if you are crouched while cloak and you are not moving, you're almost 100% stealth. Chances are, if you are in this situation, nobody is going to see you. Now, if you are crouched, cloaking, and moving, you are not 100% stealth by any means, but it is going to be a lot better than if you are not crouched, cloaking, and moving. So if you need to sneak by a high populated area or just sneak past a couple people, keep this in mind. It's going to be a very valuable tool in your arsenal. Just be wary that it is going to, take you a lot longer to get from point A to point B if you're crouched, because you're going to be moving a lot slower. But it's something you definitely should keep in mind. Also, when covering long distances, say you need to run somewhere 200 meters away, don't just take a beeline straight for it, cloaking while you can, and then going uncloaked while it regenerates. What you want to do is use short bursts of movement. What I mean by this is, where you're starting, kind of path out where you're going. See a building ahead of you. Stealth to that building, get behind that building as cover, use it as cover, wait for your cloak to regenerate, then go to the next building, do the same thing until you've reached your objective. You don't want to be uncloaked, out in the open at all. That's the main thing you have to focus on. I will see people just beeline towards one objective and run there half uncloak, half cloak. That pretty much defeats the purpose. Also, just use cover to your advantage anytime you can. If you're behind proper cover, that is 100% stealth. Nobody's going to see you. It's going to give you time to recover and maybe map out your next move. A few other things to keep in mind about cloaking. You will make a sound when you come in and out of cloak. Now, I've never had this actually affect me. I've snuck up on many people uncloaked and they had no idea I was even there, but just keep that in mind in case you're in a group of bad guys or something. Also, keep in mind that your shield will not regenerate while cloaked, so if you take a little bit of damage, you pop your shield and run away. It's not going to regenerate, or you pop your cloak and run away. Your shield is not going to regenerate while you're cloaked. Doesn't really come into play a whole lot, but I have had different circumstances where that did have an effect, so keep that in mind. Also, if you are using restoration kits, once you pop your cloak, the restoration kit will stop working. I don't know why. I honestly I hope this is a bug. It's kind of stupid, but you really shouldn't be using restoration kits anyway if you're playing Infiltrator a lot, and I'll explain that a little bit later. Alright, so let's talk about equipment, and this is what I think can separate the Infiltrator from the rest of the classes. We do have the ability to basically use any other class's equipment, which I'll cover more in a minute. But I'm just going to go down the line and talk about some of our equipment first, and then cover how I would set up other classes for us to use. Now, first thing we have is the Recon Detect device. In my original Infiltrator's Handbook video, I wasn't sure how good this thing was. I never got to play with it in the beta or anything like that. But this thing's amazing. I have it upgraded to the point where I do have one extra thing to shoot out. Where I really like to use this is if I'm about to move in on a capture point or a teleport facility, anywhere where I think there might be an enemy around, I'll just throw one of these out, just to know exactly what I'm about to run into. Also, while I'm capping any sort of objective, I do keep one of these down, so me or any of my teammates around me helping me cap will know exactly if anybody's coming in that area. Very, very useful tool. You can resupply them as often as you can find a weapons terminal, and I could not live without this thing anymore. Definitely worth upgrading. Next we have the grenade slot, and there's 3 grenades. We have the EMP, the decoy, or the frag grenades. I would recommend sticking with the frag. I have not used the decoy or EMP. I have seen just exactly what they do, and I just don't think they have really any benefits over the standard frag grenade. Plus, you're going to have to dump certs into them to get them. So I would stick with the frag. Don't really need to cover that a whole lot. Next we have the utility slot, and there's really only one way to go here, and that is anti-personnel mines. Now I like to use these for capturing facilities. Again, you put one of these in front of two doors, maybe cover the third door if there is a third door with your gun, and you can almost act like three defenders there. It's very nice, especially in conjunction with your recon detect device. I love to do this. You know, this game's not a solo game, but if you are kind of playing by yourself, don't really have any friends online, you can really help your team by doing stuff like this, capturing objectives, capturing teleport facilities, anything like this. Also, you can use not bouncing betties, anti-personnel mines in oh shit situations. If somebody's chasing you, drop one while you're running. They'll run into them all the time. It works really well actually, and it's kind of good for a chuckle. And in a pinch, you can use these for kind of a max disposal device as well. I've taken out quite a few maxes with these. It's also kind of funny, but it's a little harder to do, but it is effective if you can get it down. So anyways, I do recommend those, and I do recommend probably buying those with one of your first cert investments for the Infiltrator. Also, you're going to want to set up some loadouts on other classes. For example, I just bought these yesterday, so I don't have any footage of it yet. But I just bought anti-tank mines on my engineer. So what you can do is while you're infiltrating one of the side facilities or something, any facility, you can hack a terminal, switch to engineer, lay down two anti-tank mines, switch back to infiltrator, then lay down your anti-personnel mines. You can't have them all four out at the same time. So you basically can build up your own little self-defense system and really guard against a lot of different situations without even having to shoot anybody. It's really, one of our greatest tools, like I said. Then also have some setups, maybe for light assault have a C4 setup, which you probably do anyway, that you can just switch to quickly in case you need to dispose of a vehicle if your mines aren't down. Have the proper launchers set up on your heavy assault. If you do take some damage, switch to medic real quick, regenerate back to full, switch back to infiltrator. Just keep in mind that you can do all this. Also, there are a couple key things you should buy for your vehicles. First off, you should buy the scout radar for your flash. Now, this is kind of going to work like your recon detect device. You can spawn a flash, park it somewhere, and the first tier is going to give you a 25-meter radar scan. It's not going to pulse as fast as your recon detect device, but it will scan, and you can definitely use this to your disposal. Now, if you want to dump some more certs into it, you can get this up to 100 meters. That is a damn big radius just to spawn one of these flashes. One thing to keep in mind though is that you're going to want to keep it out of sight. If an enemy sees that flash there, that's going to kind of give away the fact that you're in the area, and that might be a little bit counterproductive. So try to park it somewhere where nobody's really going to see it. Also, the next thing you should buy is a Sunder Advanced Mobile Station, or SAMS, whatever you want to call it. This is going to allow you to deploy your Sunder and allow teammates to spawn on it. The reason you should buy this as an infiltrator, and the reason this is important, is because as an infiltrator you can often get to places that the rest of your team cannot. And hack a vehicle terminal, spawn a Sunder, and then the rest of your team can start flooding in that area via spawn on your Sunder. This works really good if you're coordinating with the rest of your squad or platoon, but people will spawn on it as soon as they see that in there. They always spawn on the closest spot basically, so very, very useful. Just keep all this stuff in mind. And lastly, we have hacking, and I pretty much covered the weapon and vehicle portion of this. Just remember that if you are capturing a facility and your guys are just standing around waiting for it to flip, hack those terminals as fast as possible. This is going to allow for your team to get set up with the vehicles they want to push on to the next objective instead of having to wait for the facility to flip and then do so. This will just allow you guys to advance more quickly. So the thing I did not cover yet about hacking is turrets. Now, this is going to be the highest risk and probably highest reward as far as hacking goes. The reason it's going to be the highest risk is you're going to have to put yourself out there a little bit more. Often you're going to have to hack turrets with people inside of them. There's always the risk that they will jump out while you're hacking it, and you are going to have to dispose of the person once you have booted them out of the turret. If you do not know, if you hack a turret with somebody in it, they will pop out once it's fully hacked, pop out behind you. You can turn around. It's normally a pretty easy kill. Sometimes if they're expecting it though, they can kind of get the jump on you, but just be aware of that. But what this is going to allow your team to do is move your air and armor into range that much more quickly and allow you to take the facility that much more effectively. Air or turrets are what basically deters your air and armor, and the faster you can do this, basically the faster you're going to take the objective, and you can just be a huge help to your team. So anyways guys, that's pretty much all I got. Just remember that infiltrators probably have more tools at their disposal than any other class. Mastering all this stuff, it's basically just remembering to do all this, because a lot of this is not hard. It's just remembering to actually do it because you have so many tools. But anyways guys, that's pretty much all I got. As always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, please give me a thumbs up. I really do appreciate it, and I will talk to you guys later.